So I'm going to show you something a little bit different today. We're here at the South Sea Marina in Portsmouth, and alongside me is a chap called Ross Barrett, who is the owner of this very fine looking Fairline Corniche 31. But what you don't know is what it used to look like. So Ross, tell me a little bit about what you paid for the boat originally and what state it was in.
So when I bought the boat, I paid £31,000 for it. It was like your grand's living room. It had flowery green interior, the carpets were threadbare, it had more wood than the local forests inside.
You saying your grandmother doesn't have taste?
And it was in a very, very poor state of repair. When I actually sea trolled it, a lot of the systems didn't work, so we were pressing buttons to try various systems, and we just couldn't get anything to work on the boat. So she needed some love and care, and that was one of the key things why I wanted to pull her out of the abyss and put some love back into.
So you always knew it was going to be a bit of a refit project?
Oh, absolutely. The moment I kind of stepped foot on board, I knew if I was buying this boat, it was going to be a journey.
Right, but not necessarily quite as comprehensive as you ended up.
Not quite as comprehensive I end up. You know, maybe a slight lick of paint, a bit of interior refitting was probably on the scope. What happened was something very different.
Okay, so I mean, we can see from the outside she looks in absolutely beautiful condition. What year is she?
She's 1986.
1986. Okay, and classic British manufactured flybridge cruiser from way back when, but ultimately a nice solid boat.
Yeah, what I found actually when I was drilling, put a new skin fittings in, for example, and new sea valves actually into the hull, what I actually found is how thick the fiberglass is. When you are drilling and you keep drilling and you keep drilling before you actually pop out, you do get a sense of quality of how these boats were made back in the day.
So good solid foundings, but in a bit of a state.
In a bit of a state.
Let's come and have a look on board first of all. So now it looks like you've already made some changes at the stern here, because normally with a Corniche that is just a flat transom, isn't it?
Completely. It's just a flat transom all the way across. Anybody who owns a Corniche or a boat without a transom door arrangement, trying to get onto a boat like this is a bit of an art. You either have to have legs that are 10 foot high, or you have to be a gymnast. As I'm neither or, it was a bit of a challenge, so we had to come up with... So you used
to literally have to vault over or climb up a ladder?
Yes,
right.
And it was a slight sort of tilted stainless ladder that you'd climb up, and you'd kind of like lean in and roll on the boat. When
Very
you're on,
elegant.
you're on.
But you seem to have done something here, so explain what's going on here.
Yep, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a transom door. Now, the easy answer is you can cut a slight transom door in and have a separate kind of door arrangement, but what I wanted to do was create something that would allow me to fold the boat back up and create that seamless transition back of the transom itself, and that helps with then putting the full length seating back inside, but also it just keeps the lines of the boat structural and clean across the back end here. Genius.
So you've still got the full wrap of seating, but you've also got an easy way on.
Yeah, it was an innovation I took from the folding transoms from the yachts at Southampton Boat Show.
And just copied it yourself?
Just copied it yourself.
Sawed it through, found some hinges.
You just got to give these things a go, right?
Brilliant. Now what else is going on here? Because these don't look standard from it. They surely didn't have LED backlit bottle holders.
So these were originally davits when I bought the boat. They were just white plates that were actually over both of these, and I'd seen an old picture of this boat that actually had stainless davits on. Now, given this is a stern drive boat with the engines at the back, quite a hefty swimming platform, the Corniche naturally rides bow high, so the last thing I wanted to do was put davits on and stick a tender on the back and add a bit more weight to the rear end of the vessel. So what I decided to do was, where could I keep beer in a very nice handy arrangement that at night would light up and really make a bit of a difference. And when I took the white plastic plates off, I actually found some holes there, so we machined these little bits of mahogany on a router, bought a couple of these stainless cup holders with lights and integrated it into the cockpit lighting, so at night it just gives it a fair bit of a mood when you're sat out here in the evening. Fantastic.
Right, shall we go on board and have a look?
Yep.
You go first. Look at that. Literally just step up and over and you're in the cockpit. So this can't have been the original cockpit seating, was it?
No, this wasn't the original cockpit seating. Had this seating done by a company called Carters of Swanwick, and I kind of knew how I wanted it to look. I wanted it to have a bit of a nicer feel and a bit of a nicer style to what the original flat seating was, and I kind of think he'd done a pretty amazing job. As we're aware, there is a seat that sits in the middle as well for the full wraparound seating.
Brilliant. So let's have a look in the saloon. Now this looks a wee bit different. What's going on here?
Yep, so we actually, as part of the refit, we actually stripped the entire saloon area. There used to be a bit of an L-shaped sofa. As people with boats know, some of the seating in these older boats doesn't really lend itself well for comfort and being able to sit in a manner that actually makes it comfortable to watch telly or socialise. And therefore we decided that it must go. So we actually took it out. We replaced it with a sofa.
So strip the whole boat out. You literally,
the whole boat,
including bulkheads and things, or
bulkheads. Everything got stripped out of this boat right the way. Every cable was taken out. The whole AC system, DC system. We stripped it completely.
But you knew what was structural or not. You found somebody.
Yeah. So we used a naval architect who's a friend of mine. So he'd come along and told me what was structural on the boat, what I could move, what I couldn't. And then we looked at what was actually fiberglass and what was connected and what wasn't, and therefore made a decision.
So you built it from basically an empty shell.
An empty shell. Yeah.
So everything we're looking at, all these headlinings, all the side panels,
everything was redone on this vessel.
Now hang on a minute, that looks like a high-low TV, doesn't it?
It is a high-low TV, and
how do you do that?
You know, so that was actually a system that I took out the rear end of a bed.
What?
So, you know, you look at high-low TV systems, and the price of them is phenomenal. So if you have a look where they're actually installed in things like beds with remotes, I actually just bought a bed and took the system out of the bed. We restructured.
Where'd you get the bed from?
eBay.
How much?
£50.
50 quid for a bed with a TV?
With a TV. Actually sold the TV for £30, so the whole system really cost me 20. So it was it was great, and it's all remote operated. We go up and down in terms of that. So at sea we put the TV system down.
Reconditioned TV?
Reconditioned TV. Tesco's from eBay. So reconditioned.
How much was that?
Telly. That was £100.
So 120 quid for a complete high-low
unit.
TV.
Made the unit itself. A friend of mine, Ron, made the wood structure of it, and then I covered the fabrics. Learned how to upholster during this whole project.
You learned how to upholster it?
Yes. It was a very challenging period of time. Used to get a piece of board, keep going with corners, watch lots of YouTube videos until I physically learned how to cover corners with fabric.
Blimey, that is impressive. Now, the Helm, that looks a little bit different, rather more modern. A huge Helm seat for starters. Please tell me you didn't make that.
No, that was purchased.
Oh, extravagant. How much?
Yes. That seat was £250.
Major investment, but looks worth it.
Yes, very comfy.
Now, the Helm itself, what are they actually mounted on? That looks like something off a Bentley dashboard.
Yes, it's actually it's leatherette off of eBay. I think it was about £5 for 1 square metre. And I actually mounted it with some scrim and foam underneath just to give it that kind of padded feel, a bit more luxury on this old girl.
And the steering wheel?
The steering wheel I purchased from Aquafax. I bought 2 of them. If I was to buy new steering wheels, I'd get something slightly bigger. So these are relatively small. This isn't a power steering boat. It is on a hydraulic ram, a single hydraulic ram, so stern gear. So
how'd you get the logo on it?
So the logo I printed onto a sticker.
Amazing. So it looks like a original Fairline thing.
Yes. Yeah.
But in fact, it's original Ross Barrett.
It's original Ross Barrett.
Fantastic. So you got speakers all around by the looks of things?
Speakers all around, so it gives us an amazing surround sound when we're watching films or the football in the boat, and it makes a real difference to the TV.
What's behind these panels?
So behind these panels we have just some storage, so we have some
nice
glassware up there for our wine, and then on the other side is the most important cupboard for us. That's where we keep our liquor.
Like it. All beautifully clipped in place. Very nice. Now, what about the furniture in here? I mean, that looks like a...
So yeah, the furniture in here, this was actually one of our best purchases. We were going to try and ask a marine company to make this, but then we realised that when they sell them in TK Maxx, it was actually better. So when you don't have a coffee table and a footstool, you have a coffee table footstool combined.
Brilliant.
And therefore, when we're sat and having an evening drink or a coffee inside, we actually got a table for that as well.
TK Maxx for a mighty, how much?
£70.
Amazing. Sofa?
Sofa was from Habitat through Argus, £260.
So beautiful freestanding sofa, £260. And that's, didn't decide to make that one yourself?
No. I think actually when we worked out the cost of manufacturing a sofa and making something, it was more money than buying this. And we had to get one that was a set distance because of the access to the lazarette just here. And it works absolutely perfectly with what we have.
Fantastic. Now let's go below decks because you've completely transformed this, haven't you? Oh, hang on a sec. I'm just going to have a quick look at this. This is your breaker panel, isn't it?
Yes.
And that you made, again, completely from scratch?
Yes, completely from scratch.
So you bought...
You can't buy this breaker panel anywhere else in the world unless you contact me.
And again, using your engraving tool?
So, yeah, all the engraving, all the switch, all the plastic work, and all these switches I bought from various saunas, mostly from eBay, as you can see, and then wired all the lights in so I can see when I'm 240 volt on. And I put in my winterization system that is connected to the boat, so anything that drops below 11 degrees on the boat, it turns the tube heaters on in the engine bay and the heaters up in the saloon here. Absolute
genius. Right, what happens down below then? So this was the galley originally?
So there was a galley here originally. It didn't quite look like this. It was very small, very compact, and what we actually done was rip the whole galley out and restructured absolutely everything with the galley itself. We ended up finding quite a bit of space behind the galley cupboards themselves, and when you actually kind of look about how much depth you now get into into a cupboard, you know, a folding tap just so we could get in, but
amazing,
you can actually see there's a fair bit of depth now to the cupboards themselves.
So you tailor-made them to actually fit the boat rather than...
Tailor-made them to fit the boat, and then we installed an all-in-one functional oven that basically gives us the ability to cook wherever we are. It's an oven, grill, microwave combined. And then a lot of these systems were actually drawers and systems off eBay that we just bought the hardware for, and then actually slotted them into a bespoke galley unit that we built.
And what about fridges and things?
So the fridge was an original position there, but it was a dinette. You kind of notice if you understand Fairline Corniche that this probably is not original. We'll show you what's in there in a minute, but the fridge was originally on the dinette seats in there. But what we've actually done is built storage that basically allows us to store things which actually fall under the mid-cabin bed now.
So there's soft close drawers under the mid-cabin bed.
Under the mid-cabin bed.
And a 12-volt fridge, so it's all
fridge.
Very good. So which cabin should we look at first?
So let's start with the forward cabin.
Right. And this was where the main cabin was originally?
This was where the main cabin was originally. So this is now my daughter's haven. So she spends a lot of time in here. Normally we've got a wardrobe which we've bought in, and it's all on a timber unit style arrangement. So she can store toys, clothes, whatever. She's got a little writing desk just here, somewhere to sit. A nice full-size single bunk that she can sleep in. She's got a TV that's all rigged up to the internet, so it can be a smart TV, so she can watch films and movies if we're at sea, or whether she's just chilling in here of an evening.
And what's this rather fancy looking strip lighting up here?
So this strip lighting, I actually took the idea from a catamaran at Southampton Boat Show that I see, and when I started looking into the price of the lighting, it actually was quite expensive. Until you go to a local DIY shop known as Tool Station, and you can actually buy these strip lights, which I then mounted the LED lighting inside. We machined 2 strips of wood just to kind of hold it either side, and then mounting these lights up into there. This was an Ocean Air hatch cover. Didn't even know it was going to fit, to be honest. I bought it on a bit of a whim for £50 off a guy, and it was brand new in a packet, and it fits absolutely perfectly. It gives us full closure, full light, and we can obviously open it up to put the fly screen in as well. It was genius. It just worked well.
And then her bed itself?
So the bed itself, so the bunk in here used to be sat on this ridge, so we lowered the bunk, and then we wanted to get some more storage, so we actually created some ability to fold down the storage areas here, so we could actually get more storage actually physically under the bed itself. So there's a fair bit of storage.
You've even got a little retainer.
And we got a retainer. Now, I looked for a while to find a retainer on here, and we were going to come up with a fancy stainless type bar arrangement until I walked around IKEA. And then I found a system in IKEA, which was £7. And it works absolutely fantastically.
Really blown the budget on that one.
Really blown the budget.
But so you have lined all of this cabin sides?
Yeah, all the cabin sides, all of the upholstery in here, all of the beams where the light sits, all of the deck head panels has been lined.
That's incredible.
I've done all the work.
There's even a rather smart bed head up here.
Yeah, so the bed heads I had made by Carter's, they were a little bit beyond me, if I'm honest. You know, I come up with a design of what I wanted, and he made the magic happen with those.
Finally, we've found something that's beyond you.
yeah, that and tech deck.
So,
and then we created this. So one thing that we found with this boat when we bought it is 3 of us had to scramble into one cabin at the front, and when you're all
all 3 of you,
all 3 of us,
your wife and your daughter,
exactly, all in one forward cabin, and you can see the original bulkhead that was there. That is the size of the cabin that 3 of you would have to get.
All of you were crammed in there.
Crammed in there.
Fair enough. So what have you solved that?
And we solved that by saying, do you really need a dining room on a boat?
Right.
And the answer for us, for 3 of us, is no, when you have a cockpit and a nice saloon. So we got rid of the dinette, and we basically created a whole brand new cabin actually in this boat itself. So this is a brand new mid cabin Fairline Corniche RB1.
Fantastic. So you got a full double bed in there. A
full double bed. We then recognised that the original slide-in wardrobe panels that were here had incredible amount of space behind them, a lot more space than we think. So we actually took all that out, recovered all the space that was actually behind the sliding wardrobe, created a full height wardrobe that actually now sits and actually runs back underneath the boat. So the heads compartment, this had a bit of a change in here. So the original Corniche had a bulbous sink that was sat on this original bulkhead wall here. And when we cut the bulbous sink out, we actually found that the reason the bulbous sink is there is to give you the bulb on the back, and all the rest of it is wasted space. Now, those who do have a Corniche, you do know how small the bathroom is, and it is a bit of a letdown. So what we actually done was we took that out, we put the plywood round, we used these vinyl tiles that are absolutely brilliant, and we created a whole new sink and shower area that basically now gives you that feeling space when you're in the bathroom, of not being so crammed and contained.
That's incredible. So that's all just a vinyl wrap, effectively.
Just a vinyl.
So it looks like tile. Very nice. Glass sink. You even got your customised
wash bags.
Fantastic. Shower.
And it's a thermostatic shower that comes off here. If for the untrained eye, this is actually it's a thermostatic bidet hose, which now acts as a full shower when you change to a shower head. So it's actually a hot and cold shower. All goes down to a shower sump, and we have actually used it.
And a very smart looking toilet.
Yeah. So toilet was from Force 4. It's their silent operation range. It's just feels a bit nicer than those small Jabsco toilets that you tend to get, manual pump that we've had before, and now it's a bit of a dream.
So are these door handles original? They look far too shiny.
So they are original. I actually took them off and thought, well, they look good in chrome. So I found a local chromer who actually re-chromed these door handles for me, both of them. Trying to find a replacement door handle when the wood has actually been chiselled and cut to absolutely fit those was near on impossible. So therefore, getting them re-chromed has made a massive difference to the look and feel of the doors.
And then all this bulkhead, you made all these bulkheads out of
everything
plywood?
Has been made out of plywood, 18mm ply. It was then mostly when we treated the ply, some of this internal stuff wasn't marine ply, it was just normal 18mm ply itself. And then everything has been covered, glued, and with this vinyl, Nautilex vinyl, it's a colour called Latte. I have been through reels of the stuff of this. One thing that I probably underestimated is how much vinyl a boat has. It was phenomenal. When you take a great big roll home and you lay it out, you think, I've bought too much. on your fourth roll, when you're walking in again, you realise you haven't bought enough. So it is, there's a lot more than you think, and it's because I wanted a seamless effect. So I had lots of offcuts, but because I didn't want to put any joins anywhere in the actual vinyl itself, I had to use whole new sections of the vinyl itself in order to get the feel of not having joins anywhere.
And what about on the actual woodwork?
So on the woodwork, we used a product called Afco. It was a paint. There's a company based in Hamble in Hampshire that we bought their 2-pack paint from. This boat was full of many woods, and what we actually done was when we settled on the colour, we actually took a piece of the vinyl along and wanted to get a colour that complemented the vinyl colour nicely, that wasn't exactly the same but just gave it a bit of a nice feel, and just kind of brought out that bit of edge. We then trimmed a lot of these edges with this 18mm aluminium trim. It just presses over the wood itself, and it just adds to the little detailing that finishes at the end.
That's amazing. So this whole boat, I mean, it now looks pretty much like a new boat. It smells like a new boat. It feels like a new boat. What did you spend on the total refit?
So I spent just a tad under £10,000 on the entire refit.
£10,000?
£10,000, yeah, on the entire lot.
And how much of that was the tech deck? Because that was the one thing you didn't do, was it?
So tech deck was £4,000 for the whole boat.
So you spent £4,000 on the tech deck, and £6,000 for all the rest?
The whole lot.
You did the whole thing yourself?
The whole lot.
Did you paint it yourself?
Nope. So I had a sprayer spray the paint for me. So that was £1,000. I spent about £1,500 on vinyl. I bought about 100 tins of no-nonsense spray glue from Screwfix. So highly recommend that stuff, heavy duty. It does the job. I'll let you know in about 5 years if I get any sagging. But it was pretty impressive. And then rest of switches, electronics, components that made up the rest of the cost of the build.
Unbelievable. So this whole boat owes you about...
So the whole boat owes me about
40 grand.
40 grand.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you really don't have to be loaded to go boating.
You really do not have to be loaded to go boating, and it's very easy to create. If you can put a shelf up, you're willing to learn, you're willing to have the patience and the time, you can absolutely create anything you want.
So you can have exactly the same experience as the bloke in his £1 million Sunseeker.
Exactly.
For 40 grand.
For 40 grand.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So we're just going to go and have a look at the engines, but first up I wanted to point out, where do these supports come from under the cockpit
So
seats?
they are folding kitchen table legs, stainless steel, and effectively I need to find an arrangement without having to take everything off all the time to lift up the flooring itself to get access to the engines. How I could support that with the new walkway going in, because I couldn't have a beam that went all the way across, and therefore they actually press, you press a little button, and they just fold, and then they just fold up out the way, and therefore when we lift up the engine bay itself, you'll actually find that everything just sits up out the way, and we get full access to the engine bay.
Now those don't look like... How old is this boat?
1986.
86. So those do not look like 1986 engines.
No, they did when I bought the boat. They no longer do now. I spent a lot of time with my eBay spray gun, some Volvo Pentagreen paint, and rubbing them down and making them look pretty. Got some new graphics made up, and made those engines look like they should the day they come out the factory.
So you learnt how to spray paint, rubbed them all down, bought a spray gun, made up your own transfers effectively.
Yep.
And created what looked like two fully reconditioned engines.
Correct. Yeah. And I done a lot of work mechanically on them as well. So I ride line flushed the engine as well. I effectively serviced the engines myself on this boat. So new filters, fuel filters, oil filters every year, new air filters, new impellers, and I actually put in the True Design composite valves to stop the corrosion going on the brass valves on some bigger pipes. So effectively we're all good now. Last few times I've been out on the boat, the engines have just run like a dream with no problems whatsoever.
So we're up on the flybridge now, and they were never terribly big at the best of times, these Corniche flybridges, but you have got a nice wrap of seating and two rather substantial looking chairs. Were they original?
No, so these chairs, one thing I found with the original Corniche seating is it had a fold back seating, so you could effectively then sit and enjoy each other's company facing this way. As you can see, the flybridge isn't particularly huge, therefore I kind of thought the space was a bit wasted. So for me, it was about comfort when we were going on a long passage, and I wanted to just to make sure that we were sat comfortably and we were enjoying it, because the worst thing you could do is bounce up and down on some old seating, get a bit of a bad back, and then get off and think, not quite sure why I put myself through that. So I actually fitted these 2 chairs, which are a hell of a lot more comfortable. And one of the other things that I felt was a bit of the best design I come up with, to be fair, was my very unique flybridge Corniche storage, which I had a local GRP guy made. I've actually managed to sell a few of these on the Fairline Corniche Owners Club. And one thing that you do find with a Corniche is these little cutouts for drinks. Is you put a can in there, you hit a bit of a wake or a wave, and your can of Coke is on the floor. Therefore, now with this new system, it absolutely fits a can perfectly between each of these stainless runners, and we can actually put some drinks in there when you're going out. It's a whole lot safer.
Brilliant. What about the helm? Are those original throttles?
So no, I replaced these with the MTV throttles, so that made it a little bit more easier to operate. Had the old Volvo Penta handles. They tend to get worn a lot inside, and you get a lot of slack. These are pretty good, these MT3s. And the other thing was I rewired the signals from the lower helm station on a couple of switch panels to come up, so when I'm actually operating the boat up on the flybridge now, I can actually see the temperatures, the oil pressures up onto the flybridge. That gives me a lot of an early warning about where we are, which is a lot better. I put these little orange stickers on just to indicate exactly where everything needs to be when I'm at sea, and I tend to operate the boat all within those parameters. And if I'm getting a needle outside of those, I've got a bit of a problem.
Amazing. So you now have the boat you want, suitably sized, with the correct number of beds and cabins.
Correct. Yeah.
All for 40 grand.
All for £40,000.
Wow. And what advice would you give to anybody who thinks, no, boating's not for me, I can't afford that, it's a rich man's game?
I would say boating is as rich or as poor as you make it. There are alternatives, and I think one of the things that I went on the journey to prove is when I done this, you don't have to walk in and buy everything that's marine graded or marine spec. There are so many alternatives out there, and it's so simple to do. So if you're a little bit handy, you can do some of the work yourself, you're willing to give it a go. And there's so many forums out there. I've asked so many questions on so many forums and so much advice, and people are so friendly in the boating world that it just makes things simple. I've had so many people willing to come along and give me a bit of a help, or tell me, you know, this is how we should do something. If I got stuck on a little bit of wiring somewhere, I've put pictures up, people have helped. So you don't have to bring in expensive marine engineers, you don't have to bring in expensive electronics engineers. You can do it yourself if you're willing to give it a go.
With a very big eBay account.
With a very big eBay account.
Fantastic. Ross, thank you so much. I think that is an incredible achievement. I hope you're very proud of what you've done.
I certainly am.
Fantastic. Enjoy it.